to an episode of Icon Elevate. It's my great pleasure today to be joined by Jenny Hansen, who is, of course, our Chief Marketing and Communications Officer. Jen has been with Icon for a long time, been with me for a long time in terms of working really, really closely with me. So, Jen, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
Indeed.
One of the great things about Icon Elevate is obviously we get to learn a lot about you and you're able to share your experiences with the team. So if you don't mind, we're just going to dive straight into it, okay?
Sounds good.
So, Jen, you have had a long career at Icon. You've been here a long time. You started at what was then APHS in the pharmacy world, and then it obviously became Epic Pharmacy a long time ago now as well. Highlights of the journey from those early days and then through to your current role leading Icon's global marketing and communications team.
Yeah, so I think I'm literally a couple of weeks away from 15 years now.
15 years, wow.
And I think before I came here, I had been maybe 3-4 years maximum in most roles.
Yep.
But I think I've had an exceptional time here, and that I've been able to actually grow and learn with the business. So I think there's been a lot of highlights. I think as we moved from APHS to Epic was probably a bit of a highlight. I think as a marketer, you don't often get that ability to reinvent a brand. It's quite rare. And to be able to do that. And also the fact that we had renamed it after a sort of a values program that I'd helped drive as well into the organisation in the years prior. So for me, I guess that was a real highlight. The other one probably was as we moved into Asia, I think. I'd just come back from maternity leave a few months before that, I think it was, and I had spent time in the pharmacy sector of the business and the day oncology sector of the business, but radiation oncology was new to me, chemotherapy compounding was new to me, and obviously Asia was a whole new market to me as well. And I think as a professional, I love to learn. Like, that's a big piece of me. I love to ask a lot of questions and dive in and find out a lot about these new areas. And I think a lot of people at that time gave me a lot of their time to actually talk me through understanding new markets like Asia, but equally into places like radiation oncology, etc. And I guess that was a real highlight for me. It was a big steep learning curve. Particularly, like, I was, had a small family, trying to manage that alongside what had become probably a much more hectic global role.
Indeed.
But it was an amazing time. So I see that as a real highlight in my journey. And I guess probably the other one for me, and probably thinking about it now, is just seeing the evolution of the team to be able to really deliver against what the ambitions of the business are.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of joy in seeing your own career progress, but I actually think there's even more pride in watching those who you may have had something to do with just actually establish their careers and continue to take steps forward. And I think for me, that's probably some of the biggest highlights I've seen.
No, look, I absolutely agree. That's something that motivates me immensely as well in terms of seeing people who've gone on and having great careers with us, and there are many of them. So no, I think it's a great answer. I've learned something new about you as part of this process too. I didn't realise you actually have a degree in fine art. So I want you to tell us a bit about this. I want you to tell me how I haven't known that after you've now working together for almost a decade. Tell us about that degree and then how you made the transition to healthcare.
Yeah, so I mean, when I went through school, I did pure math science, other than visual art. That was the only subjects I did that was outside of that. I'll never forget a teacher saying to me, he said, what's your aspirations? And I said, well, I'm going to put myself forward for law, but my first and second preference is to get into visual arts and get into art school. And I never forget him saying, I don't know why we're wasting all our time on you. And I think that made me dig my heels in even more and want to go to art school at that point. So I went to art school, so visual arts at QUT, absolutely loved it, creating art, loved art history, got to do some amazing subjects about the influence of Chinese politics on Vietnamese ceramics, just really unusual unusual.
Extremely unusual.
Extremely unusual, very bespoke pieces. But loved every minute of it. Picked up some business subjects in my very final years as electives. And, won my graduating piece of the year and graduated and got invited to be a part of a gallery show, which was amazing, created art. But then realised that I had to pay for the privilege to be part of that gallery showing, and that was very commonplace. And I think I took a little bit of a reality check at some point and went, I'm going to need to figure out how I move myself into a career. And I thought to myself, I really want to go into marketing in galleries, but there's a handful of those jobs in Australia. So I went back, started my business degree. Through my last years of uni, I was working as an admin clerk in an operating theatre at a private hospital here in Brisbane, which was eye-opening in itself, watching operations through the back doors of the theatre. But I'd started doing some just relief admin, and a job came up as a marketing assistant at St Andrew's War Memorial Hospital at the time, and I jumped at it, and I never really looked back. I actually really loved the tempo of marketing in a healthcare space, and I've built my whole career in it.
Wow. That's a great story, isn't it? And again, the great thing about these Icon Elevate sessions and Icon stories, people have these incredible journeys of how they got to where they are. So, wonderful, wonderful story. It does explain a lot about you and how stringent you are on me around our design and what we look like in terms of our presentations and all those sorts of things. It does explain a lot, so it's good to know. Now, busy job, also have a young family. So how do you recharge, relax outside of that hectic work schedule?
Look, I do have a busy life schedule as well. I spend a lot of time, we do kids' sports, extracurricular, that's kind of what the weekend looks like, which I do love in itself. I love spending that time. I love watching them try their hardest, at the sports and other hobbies they have. I think it doesn't leave an awful lot of time. I think I'm kind of in that particular time of life where there's not a lot of you time. So, I love to read. I do enjoy reading thoroughly. It's something I enjoy a lot. I'd love to get back to creating again. I think I decided I would go and do some woodworking and actually make something from scratch. And I'm talking hand-planed table.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, side table.
More skills.
Yeah, so
Woodworking.
decided I'd go back and do that.
Do you have a workshop at home?
I do not. I went and did it with he is actually a great Brisbane furniture maker, and I never finished it, and I wanted to go and finish it, and I was heavily pregnant by that stage, and he said perhaps not. And we're 13 years later, I think. Wow. So maybe at some point I'll go and finish that as part of my hobbies outside of work.
So it's about having hobbies, isn't it? Other interests outside of work is really important.
Yeah.
We've had an incredible journey at Icon. Incredible. What's the most exciting thing on the horizon for you and the team at Icon? Talking about the things you can talk about. Yeah?
I think from our perspective, obviously, we've got some work we're doing in, I guess, the digital patient experience around wanting to have, more information and available to patients, very early on in their awareness stage, as well as throughout their entire treatment journey when they're outside of centre and as they move beyond into survivorship. So I think that's, for me, I look at that, as a really exciting evolution for us. I think generally healthcare as an industry isn't as far forward as many of our other industries that are beside us, like finance and so forth, in these areas. And to be able to do that, but in somewhere where it's going to make a really marked difference to someone's experience as they go through cancer treatment, I think, and it's nothing more inspiring to be able to do.
So that's what it's all about, the digital patient journey.
Yeah.
How do we reach more people? Who's inspired Jenny Hansen to be your best?
I'll probably say my mum.
Yep.
And the reason I say it is because I think she was a highly capable person. As a young person, she kind of was doing, many of the young women at school with her, they were doing what you call Stream B at the time. It's all very different now, but, it was things like home ec and typing and you know, those kinds of subjects. And she was in Stream A, which was maths, science, languages.
Yep. Yep.
And she aspired to be a scientist, wanted to work in a laboratory. And her parents got divorced when she was quite young. She was about 14, which was quite unheard of in those days. And she had to leave school and start to work because she had to help support the family. So I take her as a real inspiration because I look at her and think, you've got the capability, you've got the opportunities, do her proud.
That is a great story, and you know what, it's pretty similar to my own too when I think about it, my own parents and then your grandparents, and you watch how things travel through families, and it doesn't leave us. We think about it, so I think that that'll really resonate with the team across Icon. You don't forget, you know, my mum left school at, 14, never had the opportunity to do anything, but made sure I had the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Same story.
Yeah.
Same story. It flows through all of us.
So don't waste it.
Exactly. It's a great lesson for everyone who's listening. Now, this will age you a little bit. First music album you ever bought, vinyl, cassette, CD. I suspect yours was a CD, but let's hear about it.
No, it was a Cass single.
Yeah.
And it was Summer Rain by Belinda Carlisle.
Late 80s, early 90s, late 80s.
She had late 80s, I guess,
she had a reasonable run.
Look, my music change has evolved. It is better now, I can assure you.
Belinda Carlisle, she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. There
True.
you go. So Belinda Carlisle,
Yep.
first music album you ever bought. So your music tastes have changed since then?
Yeah. Probably a little less pop.
All right, very good. All right, favourite place for the Hansen family to holiday in Australia?
We did a 2-week driving holiday to Western Queensland last year.
Yeah, wow.
About a year ago now. And we travelled around Charleville, Longreach, Winton. We did dinosaur digs. We, did Stockman's Hall of Fame. We dug for sapphires in Sapphire. And look, at the time I kind of thought, look, this will be great for the kids. They'll really enjoy it. But actually what I didn't think is just how much I would enjoy it. And it was a fabulous trip. And we all talk about it a lot. So I think, it's one of those places that I hadn't expected to love as much as I did.
Yeah, wow, I've never been there. We must do that. It's just time, isn't it? Did the kids love it?
They did. Did
they like the drive?
That was probably the hard part. There is a lot of driving. I mean, we split it up over 2 weeks. So, but we had some drives that were a good 6 hours, which is a fair drive with kids, just stop along the way and so forth. But, they, even in Charleville, they have this Cosmos Centre where they have these massive big telescopes, and you just go out there at night time and they show you some of the night sky. It was just amazing stuff. Things I hadn't expected to see nor enjoy, just some of the interesting things that were out that way.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. Right, last question. It's not really a question, it's guidance. What would you say to the team members watching from Icon? What's the most important thing you've thought or you've learnt about how to further your career?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, ask questions, grab opportunities. That's what I think I've spent a lot of my career doing that, asking questions, diving in deeper, trying to understand things, and it might not even be your space.
Do you ever listen to the answers?
I do listen to the answers. But I think, trying to understand more and more and more deeply about the organisation. I think, even if it may not seem to be pertinent to you, I think everything is at some point. Gives you a lot more understanding, and grab the opportunities. I've had huge opportunities within this organisation, and I have grabbed those opportunities and have run with them. And I think take every potential opportunity there might be. There are a lot, even ones that are probably newer than, say, when I started, but Middleton Scholarship and things like that. And it's not always whether you're going to necessarily get it, but it's the opportunity to actually be able to show people a little bit of who you are and what you do within the organisation.
Great answer. Jenny Hansen, thank you so much for joining us on Icon Elevate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have a front row seat to watch your career continue to develop and grow with us. And thanks for taking the time to speak to the Icon team.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.